What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Rob. I like to play games, and welcome back to the Commander Corner. Today, we're going to be taking a look at another deck from the Marvel Hero set, specifically an upgrade of one of the precons. This was one of the precons I was actively looking forward to, mostly because it is a unique style of deck in a color pair that doesn't typically see this type of strategy. So I kind of wanted to look at it, build it up, see what would happen if I kind of, went a little bit harder into it and kind of upgraded it to the point of where I feel it would be a little bit more competitive. So without further ado, let's take a look at the deck. All right, and here we are. This is going to be a Wakanda tech headlined by T'Challa, the Black Panther. He is the face commander for the Wakandan deck for Marvel Heroes. So what is he? He's a 3-mana Selesnya, 2/2 human noble hero. So one of anything green and a white. Whenever he enters or attacks, create a tapped Vibranium token. It's a new type of token with this deck that is an artifact with indestructible, and tap, add 1 colorless to your mana pool. This mana cannot be spent to cast non-artifact spells. So very important there that Vibranium can only be used to cast artifacts. That's okay. We've chalked our deck full of some powerful artifacts here. And then his other ability is whenever you cast an artifact spell with mana value 4 or greater, put 2 +1/+1 counters on T'Challa. So our game plan is pretty straightforward. We want to get T'Challa out, and we want to start pumping out some mana value 4 or greater artifacts to get him bigger. We want to attack with him so that we can ramp even faster and, kind of swinging for some lethal damage. So cool, great. All right, well, how are we going to do that? Let's start with some of the counter strategies here. +1/+1 counters are, you're mostly going to be having, your hardened scales effects. Most of us are aware of these things. 1 green, if one or more +1/+1 counters to be put on a creature you control, that many +1 +1/+1 counters are put on it instead. Sorry, that is a tongue twister. But essentially, whenever you put a counter on something, it gets an additional one. Conclave Mentor is a 2-mana 2/2 with the same effect, and when it dies, you gain life equal to its power. So cool, great. We've got the green Ozolith. This card has actually come down in price since it's reprinting, which is great. One of anything a green for a legendary artifact. If one or more counters would be put on an artifact or a creature you control, that many +1. Yep. And then for 2 mana and a tap, you can put a counter on target artifact or creature you control, or activate only as a sorcery. Great. Yotan Dissident. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature control. Awesome. Love that. We want to be able to, put out more counters. So awesomeness there. And then Resourceful Defense. 2 of anything in a white. Whenever a permanent you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on target permanent you control. So this is similar to the expensive Ozolith, the colorless one, where you get to save your +1/+1 counters if your creatures die. And then its other ability is 4 of anything in white. Move any number of counters from target permanent you control to another target permanent you control. Great. And then Clay Champion, X and 4. Clay Champion enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it for each double green spent to cast it. Or when Clay Champion enters the battlefield, choose up to 2 other target creatures you control for each double white spent to cast it. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of them. So ideally, you want to be playing this card for 2 green and 2 white so that you get both abilities. But realistically, as long as it's 2 green, this thing's going to come in great. Also, this is a 4-mana artifact, so it's going to trigger T'Challa. And then I also went with Coin of Mastery, 4-cost artifact, again triggering T'Challa. Each creature you control enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it for each mana from an artifact source spent to cast it. Cool, great. As long as we're spending mana from artifacts, that's great. And then you can tap and create a treasure token, which is honestly really, really strong for that. And then we've got Sovereign Okenek Ahu. Sorry, I'm gonna butcher that name, but it's a 4-mana 3/4 with Ward 2. Whenever it attacks, for each creature you control with power greater than that creature's base power, put a number of +1/+1 counters on that creature equal to the difference. So essentially, we'll just use T'Challa for reference. He's a 3-mana 2/2. Okay, he's got 2 counters on him. Now he's a 4/4. Since his base power is 2 higher, he's going to get 2 more counters when the Sovereign attacks. And then that's going to just keep going up over and over throughout the rest of the game while this thing is in play, which is really good. It's really going to pump us up and take us to that next level. And then we've got the Earth Crystal as the last bit of tech here, which is 2 of anything, 2 green. Green spells you cast cost 1 less. Cool. Cost reduction, love it. 4 cost artifact, cool. Love that even more. Triggers T'Challa. And then it has the Hardened Scales ability, except it's twice that many counters. So you put 2, you get 4. You put 1, you get 2, so on and so forth. You kind of get it. And then for 6 mana, 4 and 2 green, tap it, distribute 2 +1/+1 counters among 1 or 2 creatures you control. Really strong, really great. So cool. We've put all these counters on T'Challa. How do we win? Well, that's going to be our Anthem section here. Dustshell Crawler, 2 mana 0/3. When it enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. Now he's got trample. Shuri, the other commander from the deck, 2 mana 2/3 with lifelink. Whenever she attacks, draw a card. If you control 3 or more artifacts, we're probably going to do that. So cool, she draws cards. And then if you control 6 or more artifacts, creatures you control get +2/+2. So she does a massive pump to our board if we happen to have to go wide, which is the other sort of sub-theme here. While we are playing artifacts, we also are doing, a go wide with +1/+1 counters so that we can make our little things get even bigger and take over the game. We're also running Abzan Falconer, 3 mana 2/3 with Outlast for white. So white and tap, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, only as a sorcery. But more importantly, each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has flying. Tuskguard Captain, similar thing, except it gives everything with a +1/+1 counter trample. Abzan Battle Priest is just great because it gives us lifelink for those same effects. We're also running a Panharmonicon, which means every time a 4-cost artifact enters the battlefield, if an artifact or creature entering causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So an artifact enters the battlefield 4 or greater, causes T'Challa to get counters. Now he gets even more counters. So awesome effects there. We are running a small Proliferate package as well. Evolution Sage, which is a 3 mana 3/2 landfall. Proliferate, again, doubling up on all of our counters. Patrolling Peacemaker, this was a card I was really fond of from the Edge of Eternity's precon. 3 mana 0/0 enters with 2 +1/+1 counters. Whenever an opponent commits a crime, proliferate. So a crime is if they target an opponent, anything an opponent controls, and or cards in an opponent's graveyard. So your opponents do anything to anyone else with targeting abilities, we get more counters. And it's commander, there's 4 players, someone's going to be doing it. And then finally, Filigree Vector, which is a 4 mana 1/1, enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each of any number of target creatures, and charge counters on each of any number of target artifacts. So he's going to be a 2/2, naturally. And then 1 in tap, you can sack an artifact to proliferate. Really great there. We do have a pretty strong suite of protection spells as well to keep T'Challa alive, as well as some of our other engines. Silk Guard, which is X and a green, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to X creatures you control. Auras, equipment, and modified creatures you control gain hexproof. So at the very worst, we can do this as a 1 green, give all of our creatures with +1/+1 counters on it hexproof. That's really good. Of course, we're running Heroic Intervention. Card is a staple of these days for any green deck. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots, just ways to make T'Challa get in a little bit easier, as well as make him harder to target. Together Forever, which is from the Turtles commander. 2 white, enters, support 2, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 creatures. Cool, we love that. And then colorless, choose target creature with a counter on it. When that creature dies, return that card to its owner's hand. So this allows us to save our creatures that have +1/+1 counters on it and bring them back to our hand for free. And then we are also running Bronze Guardian. This is going to be more for our go wide strategy. However, it is a 4 of anything in a white. Double strike, ward 2. Other artifacts you control have ward 2, and its power is equal to the number of artifacts you control. So he's going to get pretty big pretty fast. Let's take a look at our ramp section, and yes, you do see we are running Hangerback Walker, simply because that's going to be part of our go wide strategy. But the last real section I kind of want to go over is the ramp section. I mean, there's not a whole lot to discuss here in the draw section. Couple things that are of note. Mystic Forge, since it's a 4-drop, lets us play spells off the top of our library. That's great. Low Shell prevents all combat damage that would be dealt to attacking artifact creatures you control. Even better. We love that. And then Diadrin, Synthesis Amalgam. I ran this as a commander deck at one point. It's really fun because the X, its ability, you don't need to pump anything into X for it to be good while it's your commander, because it enters with a number of counters equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. Commander tax counted. So it's kind of fun, but you can also remove a counter from 2 creatures you control, draw a card, and create a robot token. Again, just a really solid card overall. Our ramp package, though, we're looking at pretty much, your standard green ramp package. Avacyn's Pilgrim taps, adds a white. Birds of Paradise taps for any color. Elvish Mystic, Lana Warrior Elves, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Farseek. We are running Liquid Metal Torque, though, in this deck, and that may be an interesting one for some of you, but target non-land permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types. This allows us to turn T'Challa into an artifact if we need him for some of our protection effects. It's a really solid inclusion here, as well as being a pretty solid mana rock. We're also running Nature's Lore, Talisman of Unity, 3 visits. Inspiring Sanctuary gives all of our artifacts the ability to improvise for non-artifact spells. If you remember, the Vibranium can only be tapped for artifact spells. This allows us to get around that by being able to use them for the improvise, so they can now tap for colorless with improvise. And then probably one of the pricier cards in here, but it definitely felt like something that we needed. Kodama of the West Tree. It's another trample enabler for T'Challa. And then whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, search for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. And then lastly, no, this isn't last. We've got Rishkar. Enters, put a counter on up to 2 creatures. Each creature with a counter on it can tap for mana. Again, just another way for us to, get more value out of spreading out our counters. And then lastly, Solemn Simulacrum. There's the last one. 4 mana artifact, search for a basic land, put it on the battlefield. When it dies, draw a card. This card really doesn't need much explanation. You've all seen Solemn Simulacrum and how strong it is. So with that, that's pretty much the deck. I mean, the removal package is pretty straightforward. Dispatch, Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshare, Beast Within and Generous Gift, Rex Sage, Duplicant, because it triggers T'Challa was put in here. Exile target non-token, and as long as a card exiled with this creature is a creature card, this creature has power and toughness and creature types. So essentially, exile the biggest thing on the board, and Duplicant becomes a copy of it. Cool, great. Same thing with Angel of Ruins. It's a rather large artifact that allows you to exile 2 artifacts and or enchantments, which is great, and triggers T'Challa. That's kind of why it made the cut, as well as Organic Extinction, destroy all non-artifact creatures. Again, that's part of why I was talking Liquid Metal Torque. We can save T'Challa with it, so really cool that way. Let's get into a playtest so you guys can kind of see how the deck works, and then we'll go into the maybe board, and I'm sure you can already see the 3 expensive cards that I'm looking at over there. Obviously, there's more that we could do, but those are the 3 I'm going to highlight. But while we get to the playtester here, if you like my content, please consider giving me a like, subscribe, comment on the videos, all that jazz. Your support really helps out the algorithm, as well as supports my channel and means a lot to me. You can also find me in the Jungle Games Discord. Link to that will be in the description, as well as the deck list for this. So let's take a look here at this opening hand. Honestly, it's a tough one to really kind of judge. We've got card draw, we've got some expensive stuff We don't really have any ramp, but that's okay. Let's try it out. So we'll play Brushland, then we'll play a Plains. We're really not doing much right now. Okay, that's a little nicer. That's a little nicer. We'll do a little bit of ramp. And I believe Minas Tirith requires a legendary, right? Yeah, it does require a legendary. So let's get T'Challa. Now they don't really have a vibranium token in here just yet, so we're just gonna represent that with a treasure token. And then we've got 1 mana, we're good. So, oh, we should have played that last turn. So now that we're on this turn. Okay. So let's start by going 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll play Panharmonicon. Triggers T'Challa. Play this. Attack. Create a tapped Vibranium token. Next turn, yeah, we missed a land drop, but you know what? I think we're going to be okay. Simply because now we're going to go 1, 2, 3. We're going to play Terra Symbiosis. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 for Coin of Mastery, which is going to trigger T'Challa not once, but twice because of Panharmonicon. We'll draw 2 cards because of Terra Symbiosis. We'll play our land for turn. You know what? Let's make another treasure token. This one's an actual treasure token, so we'll keep it down here. We've got 3 mana right now. We could do a lot of stuff. So what if we went sack the token, green, white, play Kodama here, attack with T'Challa, has trample, and probably is going to deal combat damage. That's an 8 drop, so let's go and search our library for a land. Sure, we'll play this forest. Look at that, we're catching right back up. Next turn, let's say we go... Oh, that would have made another Vibranium. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to play Solemn Simulacrum. Coin of Mastery is going to trigger, giving it 4 +1/+1 counters. And then T'Challa is going to trigger, gaining 4 more counters. Yeah. Because of Panharmonicon. That seems pretty good. Seems pretty strong. You know what? Let's make another treasure token quick. And then how about we do 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll play Filigree. We spent 2 mana, so he's going to get 2 +1/+1 counters. Then we get to put a +1/+1 counter on any number of creatures we control because of his ability. And I believe... Just read this again. Entering causes a triggered ability of permanent you control to trigger. So, yeah, it's an entrance ability, so we're going to trigger it again. And then T'Challa's going to see a 4-drop enter, so he's going to gain 1, 2, 3, 4. And just like that, I mean, we're swinging with, what, an 8/8 Solemn Simulacrum and a 18/18 T'Challa? And we just drew 2 cards? Like, I'd say we're doing pretty good. If we really wanted to now, actually, before we even attacked, we'll do Evolution Sage, then we'll attack with both of them. They both have trample. We'll say they both, dealt some combat damage. And we'll play this is tapped, and we'll play... Where's the Plains? I just need a Plains. We'll play this is tapped. And then Evolution Sage triggers. We get to Proliferate twice. I mean, it's turn 7. We're swinging out with a really big board here. I'd say this is pretty solid for what it is we're looking to do here. And I hope that gives you guys kind of an idea of what we're looking at here with T'Challa, the Black Panther, for the deck. Let's take a look at that maybe board quick and see what kind of shenanigans we're getting into there. So the first card I want to highlight is a utility land. This is Beseiju, Who Endures, legendary land. This really doesn't require much explanation. Its price tag is high because of what it does. You can pay one of anything and a green to channel it by discarding and destroy target artifact or enchantment or non-basic land an opponent controls, and then they get to ramp. Really strong card, wonderful removal. I can't say enough good things about that. Next one, we talked about it already. We mentioned it at least. The Ozolith. This thing is insane for this deck. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on the Ozolith. Beginning of combat on your turn, if the Ozolith has counters on it, you may move all counters from it onto target creature. T'Challa dies. Cool. Next turn, you're going to play T'Challa again. Move the counters right back. Like, he's going to stay big. Or one of your other creatures die. Cool. Move them back to T'Challa. We're just going to win very quickly with that. Or even put it onto something that's evasive. And then lastly, the Great Henge. We've talked about this card before in great length. 7 anything and 2 green, so he's going to trigger T'Challa even though it's going to cost less because it costs X less, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Tap to add double green, gain 2 life, and whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on and draw a card. This literally does everything we're looking to do here. I see no issues with this. Honestly, all 3 of these cards should be instant pickups if you're looking to upgrade this deck and take it further. Honestly, I like Shuri as well as a commander. I think her overrun is really strong. I kind of went a different route with this one, as you can see, but either one I think can be really strong as a Selesnya Artifacts Matter style deck, which is something we haven't seen a lot. Green-white is not known for artifact strategy, and I really wanted to bring that out and showcase it here today. So with that, we will wrap things up as well. I do appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this here today. If you liked it, again, please smash that like button, leave me a comment, subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything. We do have a goal to hit 500 subs by the end of the year, but, let's be realistic here. If it doesn't happen, that'll be the goal next year. Doesn't matter to me. We're going to get there. We're going to keep pushing forward, and we're going to keep enjoying each other's community. Speaking of community, you can find me in the Jungle Games Entertainment Discord. I'm a pretty active member there. You can always at me or message me directly on that Discord. We are starting a pre-comp league over there as well. If that interests you, come on over, talk to us. Let's see what's going on, and we'll have some fun there. Other than that, if there is a specific commander, not even, it could be from the Marvel set, could be from any set that you want to see, go ahead and drop me a comment. Let's see those commanders. Maybe I'll do a build. Coming up Wednesday, we got another pre-com party coming up. This time, we're going to be doing something a little spooky, as we are going to be taking a look at some Duskmourn commanders. But other than that, until next time, my name is Rob. I like to play games, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Take care, everybody.